Here is an account that looks unkillable. 400,000 followers. A blue check. A pinned post selling a $900 mentorship. And on that post, 41 likes. 6 comments, all of them a single fire emoji. That gap between the size of the audience and the silence of it is a fingerprint. It is the single most reliable tell that a creator bought their way to looking important. So we ran the postmortem on follower and engagement fraud, the math that exposes it, the price of faking it, and the exact checks you can run in 2 minutes before you trust anyone's numbers. First, understand how common this is, because it reframes how much skepticism is rational. A study by Sociovault Labs analyzed 100,000 creator accounts across Instagram and TikTok and scored their audiences for authenticity. The headline number, 37% of the followers across those accounts showed signs of being fake, purchased, or inauthentic. Not 37% of accounts, 37% of the followers themselves. Separately, the auditing firm Hype Auditor has reported that a majority of Instagram influencers have engaged in some form of fraud. The point is not that everyone is a fraud. The point is that fakery is the base rate, not the exception, which means the burden of proof belongs on the person showing you the big number. Now, the single calculation that does most of the work. Engagement rate is likes plus comments divided by followers. It is the one number that is genuinely hard to fake because bots inflate the follower count, but they do not show up to clap. Here is the benchmark from creator analytics platforms. A small account in the 1 to 10,000 range typically runs 4 to 6%. 10 to 100,000 runs 2 to 5. The big mid-tier accounts, 100,000 and up, settle around 1.5 to 3%, and the true mega accounts often sit between 0.5% and 2%. So take that 400,000 follower account from the open. A healthy figure would put thousands of likes on a normal post. Instead, it posted 41, roughly 1/100th of 1%, 30 to 100 times below where a real audience that size lands. That is not a quiet day. That is a count that was purchased and an audience that never existed. The reason this fraud is everywhere is that it is almost free. The vendor pricing is stark. 1,000 followers from a bulk seller runs roughly $10 to $15, with the bargain basement services pushing it lower, somewhere around 50 bot accounts for a single dollar. So the 400,000 follower facade in our example cost, at those rates, on the order of $4,000 to $6,000, a rounding error against a single brand deal. And brand deals are exactly the incentive. The audit showed the worst fraud concentrated in the mid-tier, the 100,000 to 500,000 band, where nearly half the accounts were flagged. That is not a coincidence. Crossing 100,000 followers is the threshold where sponsorship rates jump, so it is the precise point where spending a few $1,000s to manufacture the number pays for itself many times over. The economics don't just permit the fraud, they reward it. Engagement rate flags the suspect, but 4 more signatures confirm it, and they hold up even when someone buys fake likes to patch the ratio. The first and most accurate is comment quality. In the 100,000 account audit, reading what the comments actually say was the single most reliable signal, correct around 87% of the time. Bot comments are generic and content blind. Nice, love this, a lone emoji, repeated with no reference to the actual image or caption. The second is timing. Real engagement trickles in over hours, while a purchase burst arrives in a clump within minutes and then flatlines. The third is the follower graph. Organic growth is a gentle slope, while bot growth is a vertical cliff overnight with no viral post to explain it, often followed by a slow bleed as the platform purges bots. The fourth is the accounts themselves. Open them, and you find no profile photo, no real posts, a handle ending in numbers, and thousands followed against almost no followers. None is conclusive alone. Stacked together, the audit found, they identify fraud with better than 90% accuracy. And as of late 2024, this stopped being merely tacky and became illegal. The Federal Trade Commission's rule on the use of consumer reviews and testimonials took effect on October 21, 2024. Buried in it is a provision aimed squarely at this fraud, had it bans the sale, purchase, or distribution of fake indicators of social media influence. And it spells them out: followers, subscribers, views, likes, shares, reposts, and comments. The rule defines fake as anything generated by bots, by accounts not tied to a real person, or by hijacked accounts. The standard applies where the person knew or should have known the indicators were fake and would misrepresent influence for a commercial purpose. But the teeth are real, civil penalties of up to $51,744 per violation. The agency is not chasing a brand that unknowingly hires an influencer with some junk followers. It is chasing the people who knowingly manufacture and sell the illusion. The guru selling a course on a bot audience now sits on the wrong side of a federal rule. Step back to why this should change a buyer's behavior. A bot follower count is not a vanity problem. It is a direct transfer of money out of your pocket. The fraud detection firm Check, with the University of Baltimore, has put the global cost of influencer fraud at roughly $4.5 to nearly $5 billion a year, a figure that has multiplied several times over since the late 2010s. And it runs the same way when you are the customer, not the advertiser. The guru with the manufactured following uses that number as the proof, the social evidence that the method works. Strip out the bot followers and the credibility case collapses, because the number was always the argument. That is why the math is worth 2 minutes before any money moves. So here's the checklist. Run it before you trust anyone's numbers, whether you are a brand cutting a check or a buyer eyeing a course. 1. Divide likes plus comments by followers on 3 or 4 recent posts. If a 100,000 plus account is landing under 0.5%, treat the count as suspect. 2. Read the comments. If they are generic, content blind, or just emojis with no reference to the post, the engagement is bought. 3. Check the timing. A clump of activity in the first few minutes that then dies is a purchase, not an audience. 4. Look at the follower history for a vertical overnight spike with no viral moment behind it. 5. Open 10 followers at random. No photo, numeric handles, and thousands followed against almost no followers means bots. Any one of these can have an innocent explanation. 3 stacked together is a verdict. Honest creators have nothing to hide from this 2-minute audit, and the fakes cannot survive it. Which is exactly why you run it before, not after, the money leaves your account.